part of the course where I'm going to teach you everything you need to know in order to get started with advertising on TikTok. My name is Sarah Sebastianska, and I've been media buying on various paid social platforms for the last 6 years. I've helped a lot of clients scale strictly via TikTok advertising, and today I want to show you everything you need to know in order to get started. We're going to cover why TikTok is important for your business and why you should be on it in the first place. We're going to show you how to set up the ad account, how to launch your campaigns. We'll talk all things creatives because those are the most important things that matter when it comes to TikTok advertising. I'll show you some KPIs that are going to be super important for you when it comes to evaluating your performance on TikTok and will allow you for more scale. So, are you ready to get started? Let's do it. If you've never heard of TikTok before, that's totally fine. I'm going to explain to you in just a few sentences what TikTok is and why it's important for your business. TikTok is a social media platform and video sharing app that allows users to create and share short form of videos on any topic. It's mainly mobile based, but you're also able to access it on desktop. However, I would say majority of people watch TikToks via their phones. You can really get creative with spicing up your content by using filters, stickers, voiceovers, sound effects, and background music. It is now the most downloaded non-game app in the world, and I believe every single product can find its home on TikTok. You just need to get creative in how you're going to advertise it and how you're going to show it to people. Now I'm going to tell you why TikTok is important to your business and why this app should not be ignored. TikTok has the ability to reach people across all generations. No matter your age, whether you're 15, 20, 30, 50, everyone can find content for themselves based on the algorithm that delivers things that you're interested in. So it doesn't matter if your product is tailored towards younger crowd or towards older crowd, everyone can be reached via TikTok. TikTok was actually the most downloaded application of 2022 with 672 million global downloads. It was used by 30% of the world's internet. TikTok now has 1 million active users worldwide and has the highest social media engagement per post. As you can see from this chart, you really can find any age bracket on TikTok. If your product is tailored towards younger crowd, you can definitely find those people on TikTok. If your product is tailored towards older crowd, you can also find those people on TikTok, which is just amazing, and that's not the case for every single platform. Later in the video, I'm going to show you how you can specify your targeting to go specifically after your ideal customer. But as you can tell, all of them can be definitely found on TikTok. Female were majority of the users on TikTok in 2022, and they accounted for 54% of the platform's active user, but that's only just a little bit more than a half. You're definitely able to target towards male as well because they do make up a big chunk of this audience. If all this information doesn't scream you need to get on TikTok as soon as possible, then I don't know what else can convince you. This can be life-changing for your business. TikTok is growing every single day, and you should not be ignoring this platform. If you use TikTok properly, then it can really help you take your business to another level. So now let's dive into TikTok advertising and what's that all about? How do we get started? Now that we covered all the basics of why TikTok is important for your business, what is it, why you should not be ignoring it, let's get started to the actual logistics part of it. So in this part, I want to show you, first of all, how you would set up your organic account if you don't have one. If you already have one, you're golden, you're good to go. But for those of you who don't, I'm going to show you step by step how to do it. And it's super, super simple. So let's get started. Now you created your organic account. That's the first big step. That's done. We can dive into how you would set up your ads manager that will allow you to run ads directly from TikTok. Are you ready? Let's do it.
First thing you're going to do when you open up the app is click that sign up button all the way on the bottom. Here are all the options you can use to create an account. I would highly recommend using your phone number or your email, but if you don't want to do that, there's also an option to connect it directly to Facebook, Google, or Twitter. Next thing you're going to do is select your birthday. If you've already used your phone number to create an account a while ago, whether it's your personal account or any other account that you've created in the past, don't worry about it. You can just sign up via email, use your business email, use your personal email, a dummy email, whatever works for you. Here you're going to select your password, pretty straightforward. The next step will be to create your nickname. If you don't have one in mind just yet, don't worry about it. This is something you can change every 7 days. And this is what our account looks like. Now we're going to edit our profile just a little bit. You can upload your profile picture. You can change your username. You're going to have a nickname as well as a username. And keep in mind that you can only change your username every 30 days. Here you can also select your pronouns, write a little bio about your business, add nonprofit to your profile. And lastly, you can also link your Instagram account directly from here, as well as your YouTube account. And there you go. The first step is done. And now we're ready to dive into how we're going to build ads using this account.
Alrighty, let's get started. First thing you're going to do is head over to tiktok.com/business. This is what the page is going to look like. And we're going to click Create New. On this page, you're going to be using either an email or phone number. Now on this page, you're basically just going to have to confirm your email via a code that they send you over. Let's do this quickly. Here are some basic information you're going to fill out to create an account. So your country and region, business name. Let's run TikTok ads. This is just a dummy account. We're going to add a phone number, industry. Let's pick e-commerce and do clothing and shoes, your time zone, and your currency. We're going to agree to all the TikTok terms. Here we're going to set up some basic billing information, and don't worry, your card will not be charged until you actually start running ads. We're going to select a state here. I'm based in Texas, so I'm going to pick Texas. Now let's talk about some payment methods. So TikTok gives you 2 options. Automatic payment, which basically means your card will be charged. You're going to be given a certain threshold, and as you make those payments, your threshold is going to keep increasing. Manual payment means essentially you're going to have to load up your account with a certain amount of money. Once you run out of that money, spend it all on advertising, you're going to have to come back and basically add more balance. As you run out, you're going to have to come back and add more balance again. So select the payment method that works best for you. The next thing you're going to have to do is decide which ads manager mode best fits your business needs. Simplified mode, basically what it stands for, it's super simple, less time consuming. And then there's also custom mode, which in my opinion, it's really not much harder than simplified mode. So I would go straight away and start with the custom mode. It gives you more option. It allows you to do way more things than a simplified mode. If you decide that custom mode is a bit too complicated and you're having a hard time using it, you can always change it back to simplified mode. But trust me, custom mode is way better, and that's the way to go. Awesome. This is basically what you're going to see, and this is the first step to setting up your campaign. However, before you do that, I do want to show you a few options that you can click through here to see what you can actually do. First one would be a dashboard. We're going to leave this here. This dashboard basically shows you the entire overview of your ad account. How much money are you spending today? How many ad groups are active? How many of your ads got disapproved? If you're going to use the manual payments, sometimes you might be out of budget. So this is where you would be able to check this. Some underperforming ads, costs, impression, clicks, conversions. You can also change this to fit your needs. But this is going to be a bigger overview of how your campaigns are actually performing. If you click campaign, this is where you're going to basically see all of your campaigns that are going to be running, all of your old campaigns, as well as your active campaigns. When you go ahead and click assets, under this drop-down menu, we have a few options. Here are the events, and this is related directly to Pixel, which we're going to talk about in just a little bit. You have your creatives, your audiences. This is basically an option that will allow you to build out some audiences. You can make lookalike audiences or custom audiences based on your customer file, based on the engagement. Let's see, all the people that watch your ad for at least 6 seconds or liked your ad or commented on your ad. Website traffic, this will be based strictly on Pixel, which again, we'll cover that in a little bit, based on your business account or lead generation. So this is where you would go ahead and build out all the audiences before you add them into your targeting within your campaigns. Next time would be a catalog that you can also build if you want to run some dynamic product ads.
Under comments, you're able to see all the comments that pop out under your ads. So you're able to delete them, hide them, respond to them, like them. That will be all under this section. And lastly, instant pages. This is something that requires a bit more work, but it's essentially a lightweight native landing page that lives within the app. And TikTok is saying that these landing pages tend to load up to 11 times faster than a standard mobile page. So it's definitely something that you can build out, but it will require a bit more work. And lastly, we have reporting, custom reporting, video insights, creative inspiration, and an audience insight. So this is something you can dig into once you start running campaigns and have some data to go off of. After you're done playing around with this dashboard, the first thing I would recommend to do is setting up your payment method. You're going to click this button, payment. You will not be able to start running any campaigns until your payment method is set up. So you can just click here under payment and then set it all up, add your card, and then you're all set up and ready to start running campaigns. If you click under account setup and basic information, you would see that your account is under review. Don't worry about it. If you set everything up properly, this will get out of review within the next few hours. Once this is all set up, you're technically good to go and ready to start running your traffic campaigns. However, I would recommend doing one more thing, and that's setting up your business center. Your business center will basically have all of your ads manager accounts along with access to all the permissions that you will be able to give to someone, whether you have a partner, whether you have an agency, or someone you want to assign your access to the account. You would be able to do that only via a business center. It's super easy to set up, so let's do it quickly. You can click this button right here, Manage Permissions in Business Center. You're going to land on this page and click Enter Business Center. You will just need a few additional information in order to finish setting up your business center. Business center name, this can be your business name, super simple, it can't really be anything. This is my dummy account, my time zone. This is asking us if we're an agency or an advertiser. In this case, I'm an advertiser. Company's name, company's website. I don't have a website since this is a dummy account, so we'll just put example.com, industry, and then add some billing information, country or region. Once you fill out all your information, you will be taken into your business center. If you have, let's say, multiple products or multiple brands and you want to use different ads account, you can store them all here within one business center, which is a huge advantage, having everything basically in one place. If you go here into advertisers account, you can add not only the existing advertiser account that we already have, but also you can create a new one for a different brand that you might be having. So what you can do is click request access. And basically you would just enter an account ID. If we go back to our ads manager, your account ID is always going to be living here. You can copy that, go back, give yourself that admin access, request it, and you're basically in. Another thing you can do is go into users over here, click members. This member is you. So what you want to do is you want to assign yourself access to this account. Again, as an admin, assign. Perfect. This is all set up. But let's say you have a friend or an agency that you hire that's going to help you with all of this as you scale. You can click invite member, put their email address here, give them an access account of choice, click next, and send them an invite that they're going to get via email, and they're going to be able to log into your ads account. Again, this is just the best practice to have everything in one place. If you want to go back to your ads account, you're simply going to click over here, Ads Manager. Here's your business center. Here's your ads manager. This is the one we want to go to. Okay. Cool. I would say that's about it. Your ads manager is set up. You're ready to start running campaigns. Your business center is also set up for best practices to have everything in one place, and we're ready to move on.
Now I want to talk to you a little bit about tracking. Just in case you ever in the future want to set up campaigns that will drive performance to your Shopify or WooCommerce or any other store outside of Amazon, you're going to want to set up this tracking in order to be able to see how the money you're putting into advertising is actually paying off and how the performance is looking. I'm sure you maybe have heard of pixel tracking and pixel code, and you probably wonder what that is. So let me break it down for you. Keep in mind that unfortunately, when we're driving traffic to Amazon strictly, we're not going to be able to track any of these behavior because we are not allowed to put our personal piece of code into Amazon. It just wouldn't make sense, right? So just keep in mind that this is something, if you would want to test in the future for your e-commerce store, you would need it, and it would really help you build a great marketing strategy. Pixel is basically a piece of code that you install on your website that will allow you to track conversions. It's a code that's unique to you, and it's given to you by an advertising platform. Once you install the Pixel code on your website, it will allow you to track specific events and user behaviors, such as add to cart, complete payment, and more. Basically, you're going to be able to see how many people performed a specific action on your website. These events will allow you to see which ad is driving the best performance. If you have a creative that has super cheap add to carts and has a big volume of add to carts, that's how you know the creative is doing well. But now, how are the purchases actually looking? Are people converting? If not, you're able to use these events to build a retargeting strategy where you would build an audience of people who added to cart but haven't purchased and have ads that are more directed to those people. Those are already really warm leads, and those are people that are only one step away from converting because they already added your product to cart. Now let me show you how you would go about setting up Pixel on your website.
In order for you to set up your Pixel on your actual e-commerce website, you would click into Assets, and then click Events. And here's where we're going to directly set up our Pixel. If you have an app, you would pick App Events, but in this case for e-commerce, we're going to choose Web Events. Click Manage. If your business is on Shopify, then you're in luck because Shopify has a direct integration with TikTok Ads Manager, so the setup is going to be super simple. You're going to click Create Pixel. Enter pixel name. This can be anything. Just like this. And you're going to click TikTok Pixel. We're going to hit Next. Here you're going to be asked whether you want to manually install that pixel code or automatically set it up via a partner platform. And I would always recommend doing it automatically just because you can do it on your own. It doesn't require any dev work. It's super simple. So we're just going to select that and click Next. And here you're going to select your partner, assuming majority of us will be on Shopify. So you're going to click directly into Shopify. Next. And then within Shopify, you'll be able to find a direct integration with TikTok. You're basically going to just take this user ID code, paste it, and you're ready to go. It's super simple.
Now that we covered Pixel and you know how to install it, the next thing I wanted to talk to you about is different advertising objectives that you're able to use for your campaigns. So let me show you what that looks like.
Now let's talk a little bit about different kind of ads that you're able to run within TikTok. They are divided into 3 different buckets. First one is awareness, then we have consideration, and conversion. The main ones that you're going to look into are traffic. Those are going to be the best types of ads for you to run to your Amazon store. But I also want to touch on website conversions, just in case in the future you would want to explore running traffic into your Shopify store. The one advertising objective that falls under awareness bucket is reach. This basically means let's blast your ads to as many people as possible. Let's put it in front of as many eyes as possible to reach the maximum amount of people. Reach advertising objective is going to be great for brand awareness play, but that's not the best objective to optimize for if you're looking for actual conversions. So again, treat it very much so as a brand awareness play. Now let's move into the consideration bucket. The first advertising objective is traffic, and I think this is going to be the most helpful and the most used advertising objective that you're going to use in order to drive traffic to your Amazon store or your product. Essentially, the goal of traffic objective is just to send more people to a destination on your specific website. The next objective would be video views, and this is optimizing your campaign to get as many views and engagement for your ad as possible. If you decide to optimize for this objective, later on you're going to be able to go into audiences and create a remarketing audiences of all the people who watched at least 2 or 6 seconds of your video. This is a great retargeting strategy that you can use to move people down your funnel. The next advertising objective is lead generation. Essentially, this just collects leads for your business or your brand. And lastly, community interaction, which the goal of this is to get you more followers or more profile visit and really allow you to grow that organic account. Now, the last bucket has 2 advertising objectives. The first one is app promotion. Essentially, if you have an app, this is going to be great for you. This is how you're going to drive people to download your app and then engage with your app. Last and not least, we have website conversions, and this is the objective you will use if you're going to try to bring traffic to your Shopify store and get people to convert. If you're going to want to use website conversions as your objective to optimize your campaign for, you're going to need to install that pixel tracking code. Essentially, you're going to decide which action you want people who come from your ad to take on your website. Whether it's add to cart, whether it's purchase, whether it's subscription. In order to do that, you're going to need to install pixel code on your Shopify. And I showed you before how to do it. It's super simple. This will allow you to track these people and later on also retarget to them based on the actions that they have taken on your website. For example, you're running a website conversion campaign that optimizes for complete payment, meaning when someone completes a purchase. But along the way, you also have other events that will fire on your website, for example, add to cart. So now we can build a very strong retargeting campaign that will target people who added your products to cart, but it will exclude people who completed payment and already purchased. This is going to work great when you're driving traffic to your Shopify store. However, we're focusing on driving traffic to our Amazon store, and for that, I think traffic is going to be your best advertising objective in this case.
Now I want to talk to you a little bit about Spark Ads. It is such an amazing concept that's very unique to TikTok advertising, and it has really helped to scale my clients' accounts. So I want you to take advantage of it. I want you to make the most out of it. So what even are Spark Ads? Let's get started. So Spark Ads are a native ad format on TikTok that allows brands to leverage organic posts for the actual ads. It gives brands 2 choices when publishing ads. You're either working with an influencer who is making content for you, posting it on their organic page, and you're able to take that organic post and use it for your ads. It's a very similar concept to whitelisting, but a little bit better from a few standpoints. Another thing you can use Spark Ads is taking an organic post that you created on your original page and running it as an ad. All the engagement that you're going to accumulate from putting money behind that ad will also be reflected on your organic page. So if you spend a lot of money under one ad, all that engagement and all those views, millions of views, are going to show up on your organic page. So it's almost like you're boosting that post, but also using it to drive performance. The best thing about sparking your ads is that it essentially just looks very organic within the feed, and it blends in smoothly with TikTok's interface. So sometimes people are not even gonna realize that those ads are actually ads. They're gonna think it's an organic post. And I think that's the biggest advantage to Spark Ads and why you should be making the most out of them. I would say Spark Ads are definitely a middle ground between organic content and paid advertising. The best thing about Spark Ads is that the format and features of it blend super smoothly with TikTok interface. So a lot of times, people that are scrolling through the feed might not even realize that the Spark Ad is paid advertising. They might think it's just an organic content. And that's what makes it super successful. And that's how you're able to really scale the account using these. To make it even simpler for you, I'm just gonna quickly give you a rundown, because later on I'm gonna show you exactly how to set it up step by step so you can recreate it. Let's say you post a video on your organic page for your product. You take a piece of code from that video that we're gonna generate, put it into your ad, launch it. You're good. Every single comment, like, video view you get on that ad will transfer over to your feed post. Amazing. Another way you can do it is by working with influencer. You find an influencer that's going to create a content for you. They're going to post it on their organic page, and they're going to send you a code that you can use as an ad to launch it. Now this ad is going to launch in a feed and run in a feed as if it was coming from their account, not you. So again, it just looks way more organic. Now let's get started and let me show you exactly how you would do everything Spark Ads related step by step.
Now that we have our code, I'm going to show you how to actually launch a Spark ad. This is going to be the same situation whether an influencer made a content for you and send you over a Spark code, or you generated a Spark code from your organic post. You're going to launch it the exact same way. Where it says use TikTok account to deliver Spark ad, you're just going to turn it on. And if your account is already linked here, you can do it directly in a faster way. But because I haven't linked my account, I'll just show you the other way you can do it. That's also just as simple. And this is also a way you would do it if someone else were to send you a Spark code. So you're going to click use other authorized account or post, authorize TikTok post. And this is exactly where you would paste that code that we generated within the app. Click search. Perfect. See, super simple. Now this is all showing up here. This is the exact post we want to run as an ad. We're going to click confirm. Over here, we're just going to scroll down, click TikTok post. And then all the posts that you authorized here within Ads Manager are going to show up here. So you're going to be able to choose from them. This is the one that we wanted to do. This is the one that we used the code for. We're going to click it, confirm. And there you go. Look at that. Here's your video. Here you can select the option to allow users to use the music that you used in your video. Your text, as I mentioned, is already pasted here. You cannot edit it. So whatever you used in the caption in your original post will also be used as a caption for your ad. You can add some interactive ads on here. So if you're, let's say, running some kind of promotion, we can go ahead and add a little sticker that says, for example, let's do a promotional sticker. We can move it around. We can type in promo code Sarah20. We can change it around. We can make it smaller. We can make it bigger. Say, so if you're running a promotion, this is a really good idea, but I'm just going to skip it. Just wanted to show you that there are some options you can play around with. Lastly, you want to add your URL. This is where we're going to be sending our traffic. You can always click this preview button over here to make sure that it's actually loading the appropriate page that you want to send your traffic to. You can also customize your call to action. You can make it dynamic, which basically will show different call to actions based on whatever performs best. Or you can click edit and pick a standard one, which might be shop now or learn more, whatever you choose. Let's do shop now. You can also add some tracking here based on how you would want to track everything outside of the platform. That's totally optional to you. At the end, we also want to make sure that our ad is properly named based on however you want to set it up within your ad account. But we always want to make sure we keep things clean so we're able to analyze our data later on. So we'll name it sweater, vest, dress. We're going to click submit, and that's it. This is super simple. Once you have the code generated, it shouldn't take you longer than 2 minutes to launch these Spark ads. They perform really great, so I would highly recommend trying it out. And at the same time, you're also growing your organic account because all those views that you've collected on these ads will show up on your profile. So happy launching, happy testing, happy Spark ads. First thing we're going to want to do is upload a TikTok video the way you would normally upload it to your feed. You go in, you select the video that you want to use. We're just going to use this example dummy video. You're going to be able to add your captions, text overlays, any filters that you want, add an audio, whatever works for you. And then we're going to go ahead, click next, and add our caption, add a location, tag any people that we want to, and then we're going to post the video. Keep in mind that whatever caption you're going to use for this video is going to be a caption that's going to run in your ad. The advantage that you have right now within a Spark ad is that you're able to use an emoji here, use a hashtag, use a tag, and that's something you're not able to do when you're launching just the regular ad on TikTok. So definitely use it to your advantage, but keep in mind that this caption is going to stay within your ad. Now that your video is done uploading, you're going to click those dots on the bottom and scroll all the way until you find an ad setting option. And here you're going to see a few options, and there are two of them specifically that we're going to want to turn on. The first one is branded content. This essentially just means that you're accepting all the branded content policy and you agree to them. So you're going to turn that option on. Another one will be ad authorization, which essentially will allow you to create that Spark content that you're going to use to build your ad. You're going to want to confirm this, turn on the ad setting, and then you're going to click the video code generate. Essentially here, you're going to select available period for as long as you're able to use this post for your ads. And then you're going to click manage and click copy code. And this is going to give you a code that you want to save, because this is exactly the code that we're going to use in order to use this post as our ad. Lastly, there's also one option that I want to touch on. I usually don't use it, but just in case you're working with an influencer, they're making an exclusive content just for you, you want to make sure that they toggle that option only show in ads. And this basically means that the content will only be used in ad, but it will not be showing up on their profile. You might want to use it for exclusivity, but in my opinion, it doesn't really matter. So you want to keep that turned off, because you want to be able to collect all that engagement that comes through that post via the money that you're putting behind it. As you're getting more views and as your ad is getting in front of more people, you will be able to collect that engagement and see it on your organic page. So I would definitely just have it off. Alrighty, now we have our code ready and we're able to launch our Spark ad.
Alrighty, now that you have your TikTok account set up, your ads manager is set up, you know everything you need to know about pixel tracking, everything you need to know about Spark ads, we're gonna talk about creative. Creative is absolutely my favorite thing to talk about, because I think over years, as the landscape has changed, creative has become one most important thing when it comes to paid media advertising. I truly believe, you can have the best business in the world and the best product in the world, but if your creative is not good, forget about it. You can have the worst product in the world, and trust me, I've seen it from my 6 years experience of media buying. I've seen it. You can have the worst product in the world, but if your creative is great, you're gonna scale it and you're gonna be a winner. So hear me out. This is such an important chapter, and it's even more important when it comes to advertising on TikTok. Creative landscape has really changed over years. Back when I first started advertising on paid media, you could truly run anything. You could run a static image that had so much text that would convert just fine. People were doing overproduced TV commercial looking videos. Those would also convert just fine. But these days, the simpler and the more raw content is what's going to get you the best performance. This is why UGC, or user-generated content, is the simple #1 rule to the best creatives you can make in order to drive performance. I think creative strategies will very much so change depending on what platform you're advertising on. I think YouTube will have different creative strategy. I think Facebook and Instagram will have a different strategy. I think Snapchat will have a different strategy, Pinterest. But when it comes to TikTok advertising, I'm gonna focus specifically on what creatives you need in order to become successful. And one thing that I always tell all of my clients, and this is #1 rule, on TikTok, we don't run creatives, we run TikToks. And let that sink in. The more organic and native looking content you're gonna make for TikTok, the more it's going to perform. So again, we don't run anything that's overproduced, over the top. I have yet to ever see creatives that were highly produced, that people put so much money into and so much time into, outperform the UGC content that someone filmed in their bedroom. And really trust me on that one. Before we dive a little bit deeper, I want to talk about the very basic stuff of creatives that you need to know. We'll get the boring stuff out of the way first, and then we'll move on. Your creatives should always be size 9:16. And that's essentially anything you film on your phone is already sized for TikTok. And again, that's the beauty of it. But if you're ever going to film content on your camera and you need to go ahead and resize it, 9:16 is a way to go. When it comes to the time of your video for advertising, it has to be anywhere from 5 seconds to 60 seconds. And now we're not talking necessarily about organic posts, that might look different, but when it comes to the content you're gonna use for your ads, it has to be anywhere from 5 to 60 seconds. I would say when it comes to timing, really what I've always seen performs is creatives under 20 seconds with 15-16 seconds being that sweet spot. So that's something you can keep in mind when you create your content. So I just wanted to quickly show you this chart because I think it's super important when it comes to your creative. You always want to make sure that when you have any kinds of ads on, text, pop-ups, emojis, whatever you add to your creative, you always want to make sure it stays within that green zone. Because there's so many buttons on the side, there's like text on the bottom, text on the top. You always want to make sure that these things don't get covered, and you're gonna do that by staying within that green safety zone. So that's definitely something for you to keep in mind. When it comes to ad copy and caption, keep it super short and sweet. You don't need to highlight all the value props in your caption. You don't need to do all these things because people will rarely read caption or ad copy when they're scrolling through the feed on TikTok. That's just the nature of TikTok. And text tends to get cut up, so you have to click more to see more text, which people tend to not do. So I would keep it super short, super sweet, straight to the point. When it comes to running an actual ad, you can use up to 100 characters in your ad copy. But again, I would recommend it to keep it short and sweet. Now that we're done covering all the basic stuff, let's get into the fun stuff. I already told you that on TikTok, we run TikToks. Our ads are TikToks. So the content has to feel very native and very organic to the feed in order for people to even stay on and watch it. I think the hardest thing for people to understand who work on creatives for their own business is you have to keep in mind that TikTok is very much so a prospecting platform. A lot of people who will see your ads on TikTok are gonna see them for the very first time. And as much as you know your business super well, you know your product super well, you know you're selling, you have to think about people who are seeing your ad for the very first time. And yes, TikTok works best and scales best when you have that full funnel strategy built out, all the way from top funnel, middle funnel, you have every part of it built out. That's the best full funnel strategy to have to scale the account. But majority of the time, you're gonna use TikTok to strictly prospect. So when you're creating creatives, think about it, okay, what do these people need to know about my product that will really get them to buy it without knowing anything else? I think that's the best way to approach it, because I think like creating creatives for your own product that you know really well can be difficult. So you need to, for a second, put yourself in shoes of someone who's seeing your product for the very first time and has no idea what you're trying to sell them. The most successful thing to creating a strong creative is having that strong hook. And what is a hook? Basically, it's the first 3 to 5 seconds of your videos, and that's really what matters the most to people. Especially on platforms like TikTok, people are consistently scrolling. And this is really the most important part and the most important metric that you're gonna be able to evaluate whether you have a good creative or you have a bad creative. The hook will basically determine whether or not it will perform, and it will get people to stay watching your video. First, you need to get people's attention in order for them to even continue watching your video, and then after that, click on your ad in order to get to your site, right? So what are you going to do within those first 3 seconds that will convince people to watch your video? Over the years, I've tested so many creatives that I was able to gather a list of the strongest hooks that always tend to perform. Obviously, it will depend on the tone you deliver it in, on the way you deliver it in, how it looks in your creative, but these are just some ideas for you to understand what a strong hook could be. An example would be, stop scrolling. Stop what you're doing. Stop scrolling. Watch my video. People will all of a sudden get excited, like, why am I supposed to stop scrolling? What are you trying to tell me? Very, very strong hook. This product has changed my life. This is such a strong and powerful statement that everyone wants to change their life for the better always. What are you offering that helped you change your life and that potentially could help me change mine? You will never believe. This is a great one. I think when you're having conversations with your friends, when someone says, you will never believe what happened to me. You will never believe what I found. This is such like an exciting statement that gets you to like, okay, like, let's keep watching. Let's see what I will never believe in. Another one would be, the product is a game changer. If you are, audience, let's say, if you're a woman in your 20s, listen up. If you're a woman in your 20s, this product is for you. If this is your ideal target market, if this is your ideal target audience, those people are gonna be like, hey, that's me. I'm a woman in my 20s. I wanna hear what you have to offer for me. Another one is wait for it. I think that's kind of wait for it. That's similar to stop scrolling. Wait for it. I have something good to tell you. This is gonna be good. I wanna continue listening. And the last one, I've been whatever action my whole life and I've discovered this product. Or I've been action my whole life until I discovered this product. You can really change these up based on what products you're offering. But I would say these are some of the examples of a strong hook that will get people to stop scrolling and continue watching your video. I would say when it comes to an ideal creative, there are 3 pieces that you would want to cover. First one is the strong hook. Once you already have strong hook, you get people to watch. But then as they're watching, you have to explain what your product is and throw all your value props. And then at the end, you could do a call to action. Having this type of structure for your creative is going to be extremely, extremely successful. One thing I tell all my clients when it comes to creative is we don't have to make one creative and if it sucks, it doesn't perform, we just like throw it out the window and you wasted all this time. All that you have to do is just change those 3 seconds. Because again, the first 3 to 5 seconds is really what matters. So you can have just a different beginning, 5 different versions, and the rest of the video stays the same. But it's really just the beginning that you want to be testing of what's going to get people hooked to continue watching your creative. So let's say you come up with the video idea and now you're going to make 5 different versions of it, but only first 3 to 5 seconds will change. So first one will be stop scrolling. Another one will be wait for it. This product has changed my life. If you're a woman in your 20s, stop what you're doing, listen up. You make 5 different versions of whatever you want to say, but you only change that beginning. The rest of it stays the same, and that's how you test. So you can repurpose your creative over and over and over again until you find what actually works. And once you know what works, once you know what hook gets people to stop, you continue making different iterations. Okay, now I know stop scrolling. This is the creative that works for me. Let me make that video in different scene, or let me have 2 of my friends make it instead. Let me have my mom make it. So you get the idea. I think that's the best approach to be testing. And my motto is honestly, and I tell this all my clients, always be testing. Never stop testing. Just because even if you have a winning creative, there's such a thing as creative fatigue. Over time, that creative will fatigue. And if you don't have anything to back it up, your performance is gonna completely tank. So the best way to go about creatives is finding out what works. And once you know what works, you're going to go ahead and make different iterations of these videos. I think when it comes to TikTok, again, I mentioned on TikToks, we run TikToks, you always have to stay up to speed and be on what trends are currently happening. And when you see a trend that's doing super well, you gotta hop on it right away. There is no time for you to wait. There's no, I'll film it next week, I'll film it in 2 weeks. Trends on TikTok change so quickly that if you're not following a trend when it's currently happening, or when you're not using a trending sound that's currently happening, and next week, that will be totally irrelevant. That's the power of TikTok. And I always say, like, part of my job when it comes to TikTok advertising is actually scrolling through TikTok to find what's currently trending. Because again, trends change so quickly, and the trend can be whether it's a type of a creative, whether it's a trending sound, whether it's a trending hashtag, whether it's there's just a lot of things. And if you are familiar with TikTok, you would know. If you're not, feel free to scroll through your feed and you'll see that some people are using the same trend, and that's how you know it's a popular thing to do. And when you see it, you gotta hop on it right away. There's really no time to wait, because once the trend becomes irrelevant, it won't really matter anymore. So that's another tip I would say when it comes to TikTok creative, staying on top of trends. So I would really recommend going on TikTok once a day for 30 minutes. Not that I'm trying to promote you guys spending your time on TikTok, but doing your research is super, super important. Seeing what trends do well, what works, what other brands are running as their ads. That's the kind of research that you need to do in order to figure out what creative will work best for you. Okay, so now you have all the important information in order to get started with creating performance creatives for your TikTok ads. But now I want to talk to you about how we're going to evaluate whether these creatives are actually good. So let's chat through some KPIs. There are 3 of them that I want you to keep in mind when evaluating performance of your creatives. Later on, I'm going to show you all the KPIs that you should keep in mind when looking at performance of your campaigns, ad sets, and creatives. But now I just want to touch on 3 that are the most important to you. What you can do with this information is get all that data and try to figure out how you're going to make creatives that are going to be even better. This will allow you to have enough information to continue testing and building creatives that are going to drive stronger performance based on the data that we're going to look at. So let's dive into it. First creative KPI we're going to look into is cost per click, also known as CPC. This basically tells you how much you pay for a click within the ad that will lead people to a specific website or destination. You should always focus on making sure that your cost per click is as low as possible. You want to pay the least amount in order to get people to your website, because just because they click, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to convert. But because they clicked, it already means they have some kind of an interest in your product. So, for example, if you're seeing an ad that has a higher cost per click, you might want to consider looking into this ad and seeing if it's doing a good job of encouraging people and getting them excited enough that they will go ahead and perform that click. I wouldn't say there's a specific number in mind you want to keep. This will totally vary on your product, on your industry, on a bunch of different things. But what I like to usually do is, yes, keeping it as low as possible, but also I tend to look at average of all of my cost per clicks. And if something sits above the average, I might consider turning it off. If it sits below an average, then that means it's performing super well. So again, this will very much so depend on what you're seeing in your account, and you have to find a happy balance. But the rule is keep it as low as possible. The next creative we're going to look at is click-through rate, or also known as CTR. And this is basically the percentage of people who saw your ad and performed a click. People are scrolling, they see your video, they watch a part of it, now all of a sudden they like it, they click and get to your destination. That will be determined by a CTR. I think CTR is a great way of evaluating your creative, but also your audience. Are you going after the right people? If your CTR is really low, maybe the audience that you're going after is seeing your ads and it's not really interested in your ads. So I think you can use it to evaluate your audience as well as your creative. Again, when it comes to averages, it's hard to tell because the average always will depend on an industry and what your product is, but I want to make sure I'm always staying at least 1%. If you're seeing that CTR be very low, you might want to reconsider your creatives. A great average would be anywhere from 2-3% and up, but you want to make sure that you're staying at least 1%. Lastly, the most important metric that I really want you to pay attention to is a thumbs up rate. And this is the metric that will actually show us how successful our opening is, how successful those 3 to 5 seconds of our video are. The not so great thing about this is, unfortunately in TikTok, you're not yet able to build custom metric. I hope this will change in the future, but this is something that Facebook offers. You can build out your own formula and it calculates it automatically for you. But unfortunately, that's not the case in TikTok just yet. So what I would recommend and what I do for all my clients is I have a running Excel doc where I put in a formula that plugs in all the numbers. I'm going to tell you what the formula is, and I just calculate that thumbs up rate manually. The way that this metric actually works is you're going to be able to determine out of all the people who are scrolling through the feed, how many of them stopped to watch the first 2 or 6 seconds of your video. This will depend on you. The normal rule that I use on Facebook ads is 3 seconds, but within TikTok, you're only able to look at either 2 seconds or 6 seconds. I would say 6 seconds is a bit longer, so it gives you a better idea. So I would more so lean towards that way. But out of all the people who are scrolling through the feed, watching all the videos, how many of them stopped and watched that first 6 seconds of your video? So the formula for thumbs up rate, and it depends how you're going to decide to do it, whether you measure the first 2 seconds or 6 seconds. You can measure both of them actually to see what the difference would be. But it's essentially 6 seconds video views or 2 seconds video views divided by impression. And this will give you a percentage of all the people who are scrolling, how many of them are stopping to watch. Of course, you want that percentage to be as high as possible. Normally what I like to see within Facebook when I do 3-second video views divided by impression is at least 25 to 30%, right? That would be amazing, right? Out of all the people who are scrolling, 25 to 30% of people stop to watch my video. That's how you know you have that good hook and now you're ready to make iterations of it. On TikTok, you're gonna have to play around with it based on whatever you're seeing within your actual ads. But I would recommend measuring this metric because, again, it might be annoying because you have to do it outside of the platform. But trust me, this is the metric that will give you enough data for you to create iterations to be able to scale account. And that's really it. You can also look at metrics such as engagement, like, comments, see what people are saying in the comments. That could give you a good idea of what you should be making for your creative. But I think when it comes to evaluating first signs of creative performance, this would be it. Last thing I want to say about creatives before we move on is remember, always be testing. ABT. And I know this can sound cheesy, but that's really what it is when it comes to performance creative. You're really only going to be able to scale your account if you have good creatives. There is a lot of strategies that actually go into structuring an account and the way you run your ads, but creatives have always had the most impact on performance. And don't get discouraged. Just because you make 10 creatives and they don't work, that's fine. Take the data that you have and see what you can figure out and what kind of iterations you can make based on the sign you're seeing from the data. Again, always be testing, always be making creatives. Invest a lot of your time into those creatives because that's really what's gonna help you scale the account and drive better performance. Now we covered all the foundations that you need in order to launch your campaign. You have your account set up, you know what Spark ads are, you know everything you need to know about creatives, you know everything you need to know about tracking. Let's launch a campaign. I'm super excited to show you step by step how you're going to be launching campaign. This is just my dummy account. This is just an example I'm using to show you how to do it. So I'm gonna try to explain every single thing step by step, and I hope this helps you launch your very first campaign.
In this video, I'm gonna show you how I would set up a campaign from the very beginning till the end, so you're able to do it on your own and you're able to start launching and running your own campaigns. First thing you would do in your TikTok Ads Manager is click this button, Campaign, and because we don't have any campaigns live right now, it would take you over to this page where we can start building one. First, we're going to pick our advertising objective. We already covered all the advertising objectives before, so you can decide what works best for you. But in this case, we want to drive traffic to our Amazon store, so let's pick a traffic campaign. I think this is going to be the best type of campaign to run for us in order to send people to our Amazon store. First thing we're going to do when we scroll down is name our campaign. This is totally up to you, how you want to keep track of your campaign, how you want to organize your account. It totally is up to you. I'm going to name this specifically traffic campaign, and this one is going to focus specifically on dresses. We don't need to pick any specific categories. You have an option to create a split test, and this is basically if you would want to test different things, kind of like A/B test it. Again, not something that we want to do right now. We just want to get a straight campaign launched, but if you wanted to test it in the future, That's always something you can look into. If you see this learn more button highlighted in blue, that means you can just click on it and get more information about the specific thing that they're referring to. Next thing is campaign budget optimization. And this essentially means you are going to be setting your budget on the campaign level. So if you launch multiple ad sets, let's say one ad set is going to be targeting people who are interested in fashion, another ad set is going to be targeting people who are interested in beauty, and the last ad set is going to be targeting people just going broad, trying to deliver your ads to anyone. If you're set the budget on the campaign level, you're going to let TikTok decide how to distribute your budget. So you're not going to have control over how much budget goes towards the fashion audience, how much budget goes towards the beauty audience, how much budget goes towards the broad audience. You're going to allow TikTok to pick where to distribute your budget. The bad thing about this is sometimes TikTok will deliver your budget based on your audience size, not necessarily best performance. So if you truly are interested in figuring out which targeting audience works best for you, I would recommend setting up your budget on the ad set level later on rather than the campaign level. There are a lot of different strategies you can play around with. One strategy might work for you, another might not, so it's definitely something you want to test. But for purpose on this video, I usually like to set my budget on the ad set level, so that's what I'm going to do. Then lastly, you can set a campaign budget. This essentially means I'm going to give this campaign $1,000. Once we run out of $1,000, the campaign is going to be turned off. And that's it for the campaign level. We're going to click continue. Perfect. Now we're at the ad group level, and this is where we can get really into details, more into targeting, who you want to go after. Let's build a fashion audience. So I'm going to name this fashion audience 18 plus women. This is, again, just to stay organized. It's totally up to you how you're going to name your ad sets. Promotional type, website. For placements, I would just go with automatic placements. This is basically you telling TikTok to deliver your ad to where it's going to be seen best within these specific placements. Let it go. I think automatic is the way to go. Next, we have creative type. Totally up to you if you'd like to use this, but essentially if you turn this on, it just means that you're going to create multiple combinations of your creative assets, including videos and ad text. So it's going to take an ad copy from one video, put it into another video. It's just going to mix it up, which I think can get a bit tricky if, let's say, you're advertising a dress and shorts. Sometimes it might take a copy from the dress and put it on top of shorts videos, which just creates this Frankenstein ad. So I would really be careful with that. But if you're going to only advertise dresses and you want to play around with it and see if it's going to improve performance, because that's what it's meant to do. It's meant to essentially maximize your results. Feel free to play around with it, but just be careful based on what ads you're going to be launching. And now we get to the fun part, which is targeting. We have custom targeting where you manually set the criteria of who you want to go after, or you have automatic targeting, which just basically optimizes it based on your objective and creative and performance. I would go with custom targeting. Why not? Let's get fun with it. First, we have location, perfect United States. You're able to target people based on languages. You're able to pick genders. For this one, let's just pick female. You're able to do age, so you can toggle a bunch of them. You can just do all. You also are able to select household income. Again, this might matter if you are, let's say, selling more expensive products. You might want to try to click through those. Also, always remember that these question marks next to it will tell you what these actually are. So if you forget, just click the little question mark. This one, for example, says businesses can target audiences based on their income bracket. So if you're ever lost, just feel free to click that question mark. For me, it doesn't really matter. The dress is 20 bucks. We can move on from this one. Audiences. Here you can include a custom audience. We went over custom audiences a little before. If you had a pixel code, you can track different behaviors and include these people, for example, based on their add to cart behavior. Let's say you want to build a retargeting audience based on people who watch 2 or 6 seconds of your video. You can build this in audiences and add it over here. You can also exclude these people. So let's say you want to keep these just very strictly top of funnel. You could exclude your remarketing here. Or based on your pixel data from your Shopify store, you could exclude all your purchasers and only run it to people who've never heard of you or have heard of you but never converted. Next, we have interest in behaviors. This is where things get really, really fun. You can target people based on the interest that they have, based on behavior they have from the videos they've interacted with, based on the creator's interaction that they've seen. You can also do based on hashtag interaction. So feel free to get crazy with this, play around with it. Do only interests, do only video interactions, mix interests with video interactions and hashtag. You can get really, really crazy here. You can keep it broad, of course, to allow TikTok to go after people they think are most likely to be interested in your product. But you can also just get crazy with it and play around and go with more targeted approach, which I would honestly recommend testing all of them. Go broad. Do a bunch of interests, do a bunch of hashtags, mix them up, run them on their own, and see what works. Let's try to do something related to fashion. Perfect. Apparel and accessories. Let's do women's clothing. Perfect. We can narrow it down strictly just to dresses, which is really great. Actually, we can also perfect. So now we have interest, people who have interest in dresses. We can do some video interaction. So let's say people who liked videos about, let's see, beauty and style. Why not? Outfits. Sure. Now we can also add some hashtags over here. Why not? Let's do dress, see what happens. Dress haul. Why not? Fashion. Fashion bags, fashion doll. I think these two hashtags will work. So we'll go with these. And as you can see here on the side, you see available audience size, and you kind of want to make sure to stay under balance to make sure that TikTok has enough people to go after. Right now, ours is narrow, so we might want to look into some recommended categories based on the industry just to add into it to make it a bit more balanced. So let's do clothing accessories. Why not? Let's do apparel and accessories. There we go. We see now our audience size jumped into balance, and I think that's a pretty good audience size. So we're just gonna keep it at that. Let's keep scrolling. Here you're also able to target devices if you wanted to focus on specifically people who only have Android or iOS. I think this would come in handy if, like, let's say you have an app and your app is only available for iOS or your app is only available for the Android. This could be a great option for targeting device models. If you're selling specific products that are made for an Apple products, I think that could be cool. So feel free to play around with it based on the product that you sell. Now let's get into budget and schedule. For the budget, because I didn't set it up on the campaign level, I'm gonna have to set it up here on the ad set level. Because I want to test my audience, I want to make sure that this fashion audience is actually working. If it's doing well, I can add more budget, I can scale it. If it's not doing super well, I can pull back and spend a little bit. So you basically just have more control over testing audiences. So budget will totally depend on you. I would say you want to give it at least at minimum $100 a day and test this audience for a couple of days before you even make decision whether it's working or not. We're gonna go over some KPIs later for you to be able to see how this audience is performing along with how your creatives are performing, but I would make sure you want to give it at least $100 a day and look over at your overall holistic performance. If you're scaling this ad set and it's doing well and you're adding more money, how is that being reflected on your products on Amazon? Are you selling more? You have to always have a holistic overview of the entire performance. But when it comes to a budget within the specific campaign or specific ad set, I would say you want to start with at least $100 a day per ad set. Here's a little schedule. You can run it consistently after scheduled day. This is basically when we're going to launch it. or you can run it within a specific date range, or you can do some day parting, run it either all day or only during specific times. Next, we have some bidding and optimizations, and this is another thing you're going to want to play around with. When it comes to traffic campaigns, you're only really able to optimize for either clicks or landing page view. I would say for clicks, it'll basically show ads to people who are most likely to click on them, versus landing page view is they're going to show ads to people who are most likely land on your website. I would recommend optimizing for landing page views because the goal is essentially to get people to your Amazon store so then later on they can convert. Now, when it comes to bidding strategies, this can be a bit more tricky. I would say when you're first starting out running ads, I would recommend going after the lowest cost. You want to maximize your numbers, maximize number of results. Cost caps can be super effective if you know how to play around with them. I would say this strategy could be a bit more advanced. It basically is setting a certain amount that will keep the average cost around it or even lower than your bid. Again, this is something that requires a bit more strategy and a bit more knowledge, but when you're first starting out, lowest cost works just fine. And here we have some advanced settings, nothing you can change. This is just basically a summary. Billing event, you're going to be billed based on impressions or CPMs, which essentially means a cost per 1,000 impressions. How much does it cost us to put our ad in front of 1,000 people? That's the best way to look at it, but we're going to cover all the KPIs very soon, so you're going to be more familiar with them. And then also delivery type, which we're going to keep that at standard. And that's all your targeting. Here, if you click targeting summary, it gives you a bit of an overview of what we're going after. The last part of launching your campaign will be building an ad. I already showed you how to use Spark codes to build a Spark ad here within Ads Manager. So now I'm going to show you how to build a regular ad. If you, for example, don't want to test Spark ads, you don't have an organic account, or you simply just want to test a bunch of different identities, which I'll talk about in just a second, this is going to be a better way for you to go. So again, for building ads, you have two options. You can either use Spark ads, or you can just build an ad from scratch over here. And now I'm going to show you how to do it. First thing we're going to do is name our creative. This is going to be a sweater, vest, dress. You can name this however you want. This is just to keep your clean account structure. Next, we're going to select an identity, and I think this is a pretty cool feature that you can use for testing. Basically, you're going to select what you want your identity to be. If you were to run a Spark ad, that would be coming directly from your organic account. Versus here, you're able to select what your username is going to appear as in an ad. So it can really be anything. You can test a lot of different options. For this example, let's just do Sarah sells dresses. As you can see, this username appears right over here. Now we're going to select our profile picture, which will be over here. I just selected a selfie of a girl wearing a dress just to stay on theme. As you can see, it changed over here and we're good to go. The next thing we're going to do is upload our creative. You can choose it either from the library, you can create one, or you can just upload it from your device. So here's my video already uploaded. I can update it here if I want to change it to a different video. There's a little TikTok video editor here where you can simply just like edit your video and do a bunch of very basic things. And then lastly, let's update our thumbnail. Let's just go with this one. Now let's talk about ad copy. When it comes to building ads directly within Ads Manager, the one thing that's very, very annoying that I wish TikTok would change is that you're not allowed to use emojis or any hashtag. This is why Spark ads have a big advantage, because when you add an organic post, you're able to use both emojis, hashtags, whatever you want to do will then transfer over into your ad caption. Versus when you're building an ad directly here, you're not allowed to use emojis or hashtags. So we're going to take the same copy we used for our Spark ad, but essentially we're just going to get rid of the hashtag and get rid of the emoji. The next thing you can do is add some interactive add-ons on your creative. So you would click create. Here you have a display card that you're able to add. You can also do a voting sticker. You're able to do a code sticker, which this tends to work really, really well when you're running a promotion, and also a countdown sticker. So feel free to play around with them. You can change the color of them, size of them, text. You can get really creative here. So this is a fun feature if you want to play around with it. Last but not least, we're going to add our URL wherever you're going to want to send your traffic to. You can click this preview button just to make sure that the traffic is actually being directed to the site that you want it to. And lastly, there's a call to action. You can do a dynamic call to action. Basically, TikTok will show different calls to action based on whatever performs best. Or you can just pick the standard one to make sure that this is the one that people always see when they view your ads. And you can go with whatever you want. Learn more, and I would probably go for shop now. Awesome. And the very last thing you can do, it's totally optional. If you would like to track your performance somehow outside of the TikTok's ads manager, you are able to add any additional tracking codes in here. So again, this is optional, highly recommended, but you can still launch your ad without selecting any of these. Perfect. Now our ad looks like it's all good to go. Let's submit it.
Congratulations, you just launched your very first campaign. Now that that's done, I want to talk to you about the KPIs that you should be keeping in mind when it comes to evaluating your performance. We are going to be running mainly traffic campaigns if you're trying to scale your Amazon store and bring that outside traffic. So some of these might be a little bit irrelevant because they are more relevant to actually driving traffic to your Shopify store. But if that's something you ever want to test in the future, I figured I might as well just touch on both. They are going to be very different, so keep that in mind. But some of these you will definitely use for both of them. So let's dive right in.
Now let's talk about some KPIs that will help you determine how successful your campaign is. There are a few KPIs that I use on a daily basis that help me evaluate how my performance is doing on the campaign level, but also how my creatives are performing, so I can gather enough data to be able to make conclusion on what kind of creatives I should be making next based on what I know is already working. So let's dive into this. When it comes to looking at date range, I usually like to evaluate my performance for at least last 7 days. Because of attribution and all the aspects of advertising, it tends to be very tricky to evaluate performance day over day. So I usually go in here and select last 7 days. When you click over here, these are some default columns that TikTok thinks will be the best for you to evaluate your performance. And I agree, I think some of them are exactly what we need, but we might want to do some cleaning up over here so that way you have the best view possible to see how your campaigns and your creatives are performing. So let's click custom columns. Here you're basically going to have a bunch of different metrics that are related to video play, specifically engagement, your interactive ads on, your attribution, page event, on-site event. There's a lot of things you can play around with here, so feel free to go in and pick the metrics that you think will be most important for you. But I will show you just a few of my favorite ones that I think are an absolute must-have to have when you're trying to evaluate performance. Because the specific campaign that we build is a traffic objective campaign, which the goal of it is to send traffic to your Amazon store or your specific Amazon product, these metrics will be a bit different than the metrics we will look at if we optimize our campaigns for website conversions. So just keep that in mind. Let's start with ad group ID. I don't think you specifically need to know what your ad group ID is in order to evaluate performance, so we can just get rid of this one. We know that our budget is set on the ad group level rather than the campaign level, so we can also get rid of this. This one is specifically related to a bid strategy, which we're not doing any bidding right here. We have automatic bidding set, so this is not also something that we need to know. Same thing when it comes to ad schedulings. We didn't set up any schedule for our ads. They're running on the whole time, so this is unnecessary. We'll keep our ad group name here. We don't really need to know our ad ID, so we can get rid of it. Total cost will basically tell you how much of your budget has been spent. Cost per click, we already touched on this before. Super important metric to evaluate how much it costs you to acquire a click. Another important metric is CPMs, or cost per thousand impressions. And this basically means how much does it cost you to put your ad in front of 1,000 people? We want to make sure that we keep that cost as low as possible so you're able to reach more people for cheaper. But unfortunately, sometimes CPMs are out of our control. When it comes to seasonality, for example, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, you're really going to see CPMs increase like crazy because there's a lot of competition in the action. So again, sometimes there is not much control that you have over CPMs. Next, we have impressions. Then we have clicks. I would more so move my clicks under cost per click. So it's all organized right away. You see, okay, this is how many clicks I've gotten and this is how much it cost me to get that click. Next, we have click-through rate. We already talked about click-through rate. That's a super important metric when it comes to evaluating your creative performance. These are going to be some of the KPIs that you're going to want to pay closely attention to when it comes to traffic campaign. I'm going to just rearrange some of these. We're going to have total cost, cost per click, clicks. We'll put click-through rate over here. Our CPMs, our impressions. Let's also add reach to see how many people we're actually able to reach. Now let's go into video play. This is going to help us estimate how successful our creatives are based on how long people watch them. I would say we could look at some video views. We could also look at 6-second video views. This is something you're going to be able to pull manually a thumb step rate that we talked about before. Unfortunately, in TikTok, you're not able to create custom metric. This is a big bummer, and I hope this is something that they're going to fix on so you don't have to calculate these things manually. But for now, I would highly, highly recommend having that Excel sheet where you can keep track of your thumb step rates because they are one of the best indicators of how your creative is performing. You can also look at video views at 100%, 75%, 50%, and 25%. This means essentially the number of times your video was played at that percentage of its duration. So definitely it might be an interesting metric to look at. Average watch time per video view and average watch time per person. I think this is something that you can also look into. Next, we have engagement. Some things you might want to look into is paid followers, paid likes, paid comments, paid shares. This is great when you're using Spark ads, essentially how many of new followers you've gained from one day after a user was seeing your paid ad. If you're ever not sure what any of these metrics means, you can just hover over them and it will give you a definition of what they stand for. So these might be some things that you would want to look into. It gets really granular. Another thing you can look to are interactive ads on. So if you add any polls, any stickers with the promotions, you're able to see how many impressions you have, how many people actually clicked all those stickers. So you can get very granular here in order to analyze your data. Then we have in-app events, which don't apply to us because we don't have an app. We have attribution. We have page events, which these also do not apply to us when we're running a traffic objective campaign. This is something if you had a pixel installed on your website and you were driving traffic to your Shopify store, you'd be able to measure all these events here, how much it costs you, what's the value per event, how many events fired for this specific one. So that's something that's more so focused on website conversion objective. You can go ahead and save this as a preset. So we're going to name this Sarah's preset. And then we're going to confirm. One thing I want us to keep in mind is these are just great in-platform metrics to evaluate your creative, your in-platform performance. But as a media buyer, you always want to make sure you look at a holistic performance of everything together. If you're scaling a campaign on TikTok, see how that's affecting your Amazon sales. See how that performance is doing over there. In-platform metrics are great, but because we're driving traffic to Amazon, we're not really necessarily able to tell how these will reflect on your sales. So you want to make sure that you are tracking a holistic performance on your end. So here's your preset. If you ever log into your ads manager and you don't see it, just click over here. Sometimes it might default it to this option. So you want to toggle it and click Sarah's preset. And then here are all your most important metrics that you want to pay attention to within the account.
Congratulations, you've reached the end of this course and you now know all the basics that you need in order to start advertising on TikTok and running your own campaigns. Remember, always be testing absolutely everything when it comes to strategies, when it comes to creatives, copies, everything we've touched on, you can test to find what works best for you. If you ever find yourself needing more help with TikTok strategy, ads, creative, testing, anything, feel free to reach out to me. And in the meantime, I can't wait to see your ads on TikTok. Thank you.